for real. You see, the enemy wants to convince us that, there you may not be in bondage and enslavement, but are you really prepared to walk away from the things that have kept you bound all these years? Sometimes we want to teeter-totter a little bit and have one foot in and one foot out, but God is saying if you really want to get to the destination that I have for you, the first thing that you got to do is leave the past behind. The way that we leave the past behind is by looking forward to the future. Paul tells the Philippians church in chapter 3, verse 13, he says, I forget the things that are behind, and I press forward to the things in the high mark of my calling in the things of God. You can't forget where you're at. You only can forget where you've been. If you're still standing in your situation, it's not your past because it's your present. You've got to step away from the things that have been holding you back in order for you to press to what God has for you. I was wondering if y'all was going to clap. I was like, I'm pushing it. Are they going to clap? Good God. Like, what do I got to do? Tap dance for them? All right. So God has brought them out of Egypt. They get over on the other side. And now they're on the other side and they're celebrating. They're happy and everything is all good. But it doesn't take long for the children of Israel to find themselves dealing with a little bit of frustration. In fact, they were about 4 days into it before they started to complain. Now let me break this down for you real quick. The children of Israel, they had been liberated after 400 years. They have crossed the Red Sea. They left their past behind. They're beginning their journey of deliverance. And as they began this journey, they noticed that, the promised land, this Canaan land, is only 11 days away. It's 11 days away, but as they saw that the promises of God was right on the edges of their fingertips, God had shifted them to go another direction. What do you do when you feel that the promises and the things of God are right at the edges of your fingertips and God begins to shift you to go another direction altogether? What do we do when we feel as if, God, you've been telling me that this is what you have for me, and now that I'm here, you're telling me to go over there? My mind tells me that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, but God, you have me doing zigzags and going into circles. What do you do with that? I want to let you know that I'm so glad that God has a GPS system that is not concerned about our comfort, but he's concerned about our survival. You see, let me break it down for you. If the children of Israel would have gone the most direct route, it would have undoubtedly resulted in their total eradication. See, the reality is that if they would have gone the most direct route, they would have gone through a Philistine camp. If you look through the Bible, you'll find that the Philistines are the arch rivals of the children of Israel. And because the children of Israel had just been liberated, they had not prepared the mentality of warfare yet. They haven't accumulated any weapons just yet. So though the promised land was on the other side of the Philistine camp, if they would have actually gone through the Philistine camp, they would have got completely wiped out. Your breakthrough is not a breakthrough if your breakthrough will break you. And sometimes you have to realize that God is going to shift you in another direction. I'm preaching now. Y'all with me, right? Y'all with me, right? You see, sometimes we're not really ready to handle the blessing that God has for us. Sometimes we're praying that we get our finances in order so that way we can begin to ball till we fall a little bit. But God realizes that if I give you this money and your relationship isn't right with me, you will not use that money to glorify me and essentially to draw you away from me. There's people in here that have been praying about relationships. God, just send me my spouse. But God is saying your relationship with me ain't that strong. And if your relationship with me ain't that strong, that spouse is going to pull you away from me. God will conveniently put our blessings on yield until we get our place at a place where we are completely submitted to him. I want to encourage you that we gotta press in and engage the presence of God. God has a blessing for us, but he wants to make sure that blessing does not destroy us. He wants to make sure that blessing does not destroy us. So the children of Israel, they're frustrated, they're angry. And so they get to this place where they're like, look, Moses, we need to holler at you for a minute. This is my interpretation. Moses, we need to holler at you for a minute, man, because we've been out at this thing for a while now, and things ain't going the way that you promised us, Moses. We got some grievances. And the children of Israel, they picked up what I like to refer to as the Janet Jackson mentality. The Janet Jackson mentality is the what have you done for me lately mentality. Here we go. Buckle up. Here we go. So Moses is in this place where he's listening to the grievance of the people, and Moses is like, okay, look, I hear what you're saying. They're like, but what have you done for me lately, God? So what they did is they got in a proverbial cipher. A cipher is this. Let me break it down for you guys. In hip-hop terminology, a cipher is when people get in a circle and they exchange words. It's a battle. If y'all ever seen 8 Mile. Anybody seen 8 Mile? All right, that's a cipher. You get in a battle. Only 4 people. We're going to have that next week. Okay, so they get in a cipher, and it's called a battle. You exchange words. So they get into this place where they want to have a battle and match verses with God. They find themselves at a place where they're saying, God, what have you done for me lately? God retorts and says, okay, check it out. 1, 2, 1, 2, check it out. All right, check it out. I delivered you from the Red Sea so that you could be with me. They're like, yeah, God, that's all good, man, but what have you done for me lately? God's like, all right, cool. All right, yeah, I thought I told you that we won't stop. Y'all thirsty, right? I'm gonna bring water from this rock. Y'all with me? They're like, yeah, that's all fine, but God, we prefer wine. What have you done for me lately? God's over on this side. He's like, okay, don't you like, okay, let me see. All right, that was a good verse, okay, check it out. All I want you to do is show me reverence, and you're hungry, right? I'm going to literally rain down bread from heaven. God, that's cool. All that is great, but we don't like the bread from heaven. We prefer steak. What have you done for me lately? You know, if we're not careful, we can find ourselves at a place where we miss out on what God is doing in our lives. But I want to let you know something right now, that your mere survival is evidence of a revival. There's some people in here tonight that know that you shouldn't be in here tonight. There's some people in here that knows that they should have probably been in jail. This is sub 30. Probably should have been in jail. That probably should have been dead. There's some people in here tonight, including myself, that should not have survived when they were in their Egypt experience. But I want to let you know that your mere survival is evidence that God is with you. Sometimes, just sometimes, we have got to take inventory in order for us to truly give God the glory. Look at the things that God has brought you through in your life, so that way you can truly give him the glory and the praise that he deserved. I assure you that God sees you, he hears you, he's aware of your situation, he's walking with you, and he has brought you through some things. Don't allow the enemy to convince you that God has forgotten about you and that you are somehow this illegitimate child that he does not have any care or concerns for. That is a lie straight from the pits of hell itself. Listen to me, guys. God is bringing you to a destination. God is bringing you to a specific place. God has deliverance in mind the moment that he looks at you. So don't allow the enemy to get you to a place where you're saying, Lord, what have you done for me lately? Exodus, the 17th chapter, verse 8, tells us a story of when the children of Israel, they're on their journey. And while they're on their journey, the Bible says that they get engaged in their very first battle. It's the very first battle that they had ever been into. They were at a place called Rephidim. Rephidim means a place of rest. So though they've been on this journey, they had finally got to a place of rest. Some of you in here tonight are at a place of rest. But the Bible tells us that the Amalekites came and they attacked them. And in fact, they did a sneak attack. They attacked the children of Israel from behind. Okay, I need y'all to lean in for a second. Buckle up, because we're about to get biblical for the next 2 minutes. Then I'll come back out. I promise you, I won't stay there long. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all with me? All right, check it out. Let me tell y'all a little bit about the Amalekites. You see, the Amalekites are the descendants of Esau. This is where the Bible comes in. Esau represents the flesh, because Esau is the brother that walked away from the promises of God so that he could nourish his flesh. It represents our humanity, the things that we walk away from. So Esau was the one that Jesus was supposed to be born through, but he'd rather get something to eat. So he nourished his flesh instead of fulfilling the promises of God in his life. It's the flesh that wars against us. On this side, you have the children of Israel. They picked up the promises, and so they represent the spirit. So what we find here is this dynamic cosmic battle that continues to go on inside of us to this day. Paul talks about it in Romans, the 7th chapter, where it says, I want to do good, but evil is yet with me. Jesus talks about it where he says that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Sometimes you're wondering, how come I know to do good, but the things that I want to do are the things that I can't do, because I find that I'm at war with myself. I want to encourage you and let you know that you're not a spiritual schizophrenic, but what's going on is that the enemy is warring against you in the flesh. So what happens happens is the Amalekites, they rise up and they begin to war against the children of Israel, symbolic of the flesh warring against the spirit. And as the children of Israel found themselves in the battle, the solution was found when Moses went on top of the mountain. Sometimes you got to elevate your perspective of the battle in order for you to truly come up with a game plan. What Moses did when he was at this elevated perspective is he looked down and realized that the children of Israel weren't doing so good. The spirit wasn't doing so good with this battle with the flesh. So what he chose to do is he chose to simply lift his hands up. He chose to lift his hands up. Hands lifted up simply means a place of worship and a place of surrender. Moses is looking down at the battle, but he has his hands lifted up as a place of worship and as a place of surrender. And because he did that, the Bible tells us is that it was then that the children of Israel had began to prevail in the battle. We're still going in. So as his hands were lifted up and the children of Israel were winning the battle, he got to a place where his arms began to get tired. And as his arms got tired, he began to lower them. Have you ever been at a place where you're just tired? You ever been at a place where you've been trusting and holding on to the things of God for as long as you can, but you don't know if you can hold on any longer? And he got to a place where his hands had went down, and when his hands went down, the Amalekites had begun to win again. But Moses was smart enough to have some friends around him. He had some men around him, and those men came in by his side and they sat him down on a rock. And when they sat him down on a rock, they stood beside him and helped him keep his hands lifted up. I want to ask you, who do you have in your life that when you're tired of worshiping, they're telling you to keep them hands up? When you find that you're weary and you don't know if you can continue to stay in the things of God, they will sit you on the rock of your salvation, that being Christ, and tells you to keep your hands up. What groups are you connected to that are going to help you so that you can walk in the promises and the things of God so that you're not picked off by yourself? You need to make sure that you're surrounded by some people whose primary purpose in your life is to help you to keep your hands lifted up.